this week on the Bubble Chat.
I really just came here specifically to give my opinion because, frankly, this whole thing has been an overwhelming fucking mess. And part of what's making it messy, is the amount of misinformation that I've been observing. So, for example, I've been seeing Ariana Grande unfollow Nicki specifically because of this.
If he chose his mental health, then I applaud him for that. I applaud him for that. Because I just saw an interview with, I'm sorry to say this, Q from Day 26 did an interview, and it was talking about how he was drugged and how being overly committed, that we can say, doing what they're asking you to do and not saying no.
My take is that she probably wasn't even aware of the extent of her hallucinating until it was already happening. Ambient is no joke. It's one of those things where you think you're functioning, but your brain is essentially in another dimension.
For him to be accused of such things, it makes me feel like nobody in a position of power, especially black men, are like considered safe. Yeah. And they're held to a different level of scrutiny.
I'm just going to bring in how reality TV has really invited us into, the reality star universe, whether you are a housewife, was that Jersey Shore, all these shows have been on and then they get relit and they come back and things like that. It brings you back to a certain nostalgia. So kudos to everything that she did on the Big Brother show. But I just want to coin in on how we are invited and how we become a part of these people's lives.
Everyone, welcome to our very first episode of 2026. You're listening to the Bubble Chat, the place where we break down the trends, the talk, and everything in between. I'm Jawan Johnson, and with me are my uncle Adonis and my cousin Jasmine. And I am so refreshed to be back in the virtual studio. We hope your holiday break was filled with exactly the right amount of chaos and relaxation. We had a few days to rest, but the world hasn't stopped moving, and we have a massive year ahead of us.
And it feels like just yesterday we was ringing in the 20s. Now here we are well into half of the decade. We've got a brand new lineup for you this year, more guest experts, and of course, our signature deep dives into topics that everyone is whispering about. And honestly, 2025 was such a whirlwind for this show and for the community. We want to start by saying a huge thank you to everyone who joined in last year, whether you've been a part of us since the very first pop or you found us over the holiday break. We are so glad to have you here and back at the Bubble Chat.
Our goal for this year, more clarity, more curiosity, and maybe a few more controversial takes. But before we get into the heavy lifting of the new year, let's take a breath. How are we feeling? Are we doing resolutions this year, or are we just doing vibes?
That's it. Or are we just doing New Year's and me?
Right.
Ooh.
That's right. Whether you made a dozen resolutions or you're just trying to remember what day of the week it is, we are so glad you're kicking off your year with us.
So let us burst this first bubble on our first lineup of hot topics of this year. Today we're looking at some moments and why it's already set to dominate the 2026 lineup. Lean in, get comfortable, and let's get into these topics. As the late queen of talk used to say,
how you doing
this year?
Before we, of course, get into everything, I have to take a second to address the silence. You probably noticed that we went down for about 2.5 weeks and didn't stick to our usual uploading schedule, which I want to sincerely apologize. If I'm being completely honest with y'all, let's just say I was just going through a bit of a burnout phase. I think the end of the year really caught up with me, and I needed to step back and recharge the battery so I could come back and give you the quality that you listeners deserve. But other than that, everything's okay. I'm feeling refreshed. It's a brand new year, and we are likely officially back on track with our regular schedule. Thank you all. Thank you to my listeners so much for sticking with me and for being patient while I took that much needed breather. Now that the energy is back up, let's get into our first show of 2026. So, how's your New Year's been going so far? I mean, we already went through the first day yesterday, so how has it been for you guys so far?
I'll say my New Year's has been great so far. I took my family to Disneyland. And so
Wow.
I know. And so we went for New Year's Eve, and then Disneyland stays open till about 2 a.m. And we got to explore a lot of Disneyland. The only thing I didn't like is there was an attraction dedicated to princesses and whatnot, and there are packages sold as a part of that attraction to where little girls can get their pictures taken and their hair done with gel and put into a bun and all the things, right? And so the only dilemma that I had with that is that I have a little girl who is black with braids, and she wasn't able to participate in the way that other little girls that are not black are. And so
What?
we had to incorporate different type of, yeah. So like, how do you put gel on cornrows or singles and put that into a ponytail? It's not inclusive in the way that you would think, given the fact that we have a whole Princess Tiana, right? And so we're done
Wow.
with this past in years since Princess Tiana came into the fold. And so with that being said, it was just really interesting that I had to, figure some things out in the line, and she couldn't have this full on experience that other little girls her age
Gosh, I
got.
am so sorry to hear that. When you was talking about that, it reminded me of something back 4 years ago. I don't know if you remember, but in the Sesame Workshop, the Rosita mascot, she was refusing a high five from a black, I think it was a black girl, and then another person of color, and I was shocked on that as well. It reminded me of the similar situation. So, and I cannot imagine what that experience must have been like for you and your daughter. And
She didn't know anything. That was the benefit of it. She just, yeah, mommy took care of everything. She didn't know.
Well, that's good to hear that you take care of everything. How about you, Adonis? How's 2026 been treating you?
It's been good. I've been asleep. If we've been in a year a good 48 hours, I was asleep a good at least a good 22. I had a very safe and comfortable, loving and humble New Year's. Yesterday, the first day of the year, I held a New Year's game day and dinner party, which went fine. It was wonderful. It was great. And here I am, second day
Yep,
with you
here we are.
on a Bubble Chat
Alrighty,
fan.
now, all right, let's get to these hot topics. I was gonna get to that, but I just want to check to see how the new year's been treating. But yeah, let's get into these hot topics. First we have to jump right into the storm that's been brewing over these last few weeks, and that is the absolute downfall of Nicki Minaj's legacy. It's one thing to have a controversial era, but what we're witnessing right now feels like a total cultural decoupling. Ever since she pivoted towards vocal public support for Donald Trump and his administration, the reaction hasn't just been backlash, it's been made a mass exodus. We aren't just seeing people stop playing the music, we're seeing a visceral, I hope I said that right, physical
Visceral.
rejection of her brand in its entirety. My feed has been nothing but videos of fans taking scissors of their gag feeding merch and literally tearing them apart their free Pink Friday t-shirts. People are screen recording themselves deleting her entire discography from their libraries, effectively
Mhm.
scrubbing her from their digital lives. What's even
Yes.
more fascinating is the narrative shift in the comments. You see thousands of people finally saying Lil Kim was right all along, or pivotally declaring themselves as Team Cardi B, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm not going to dive into every single gritty detail of this downfall. There are so many layers in this insights to this story that we'll be here until 2027 if I try to cover them all. So if you need a refresher on the timeline, I'll link our previous episode and a few deep dive articles in the show notes below if I can find any. Because I really just came here to give specifically to give my opinion because frankly this whole thing has been an overwhelming fucking mess. And part of what's messy, making it messy, is the amount of misinformation that I've been observing. So for example, I've been seeing Ariana Grande unfollow Nicki specifically because of this. But from what I saw and from my own research, Nicki's Instagram was actually deactivated or deleted before Ariana even had that chance. Now, there is a high chance I could be wrong. The internet moves fast, so listeners, if you do have the receipts, please correct me. And the other bit of misinformation floating around is, and I don't even know if it was misinformation or not, but it's when Nicki deleted her Instagram because she lost 10 million followers in a day. Now, from
Yeah.
what I know, that just wasn't the case. But look, even if Ariana did unfollow her before the account went dark, that's not in my control. Friends chose to end friendships every day for all sorts of reasons. I haven't made a single video about this until now because I feel like talking about it more on this podcast is more appropriate for me because I have a completely different take on the situation. One, I'm even still nervous to actually mention, but I feel like getting to get it off my chest at the same time. I can't speak for everyone, but I am going to speak from my own view and my own understanding. Ever since I was like 11, I was into Nicki's classics, but did that make me a Barb? Not necessarily. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big politics person nowadays. My mom's side of the family is from the South, and we just weren't raised to focus heavily on who's running for president on the upcoming election terms. And I haven't watched the conference with Erica Kirk, and I haven't watched Nicki's full speech expressing her support for Trump. Now, I've made the choice to keep her classics in my music library, not because I'm a super fan, and it's definitely not because I agree with her political beliefs, because I truly not. It's purely about really nostalgia. Now I know that's a controversial choice in this climate that I made for sure. And to the listeners, if you disagree with me keeping those songs, just let me know. I'm okay with it. However, there are things that I cannot it behind. Specifically in that conference with Erica Kirk, who is the widow of the late Charlie Kirk, Nicki mentioned telling, and I quote, boys to be boys. I 100% disagree with that. If a boy wants to transition to a girl or a girl to a boy, that's their choice and that's their journey. I think a huge reason this fallout is so explosive is because Nicki's fan base is heavily rooted in the LGBTQ community. When you alienate the people who champion you, the crash is going to be loud. And beyond politics, the fallout is also digging up the deeper dark issues, like the situation with her brother and her marriage to Kenneth Petty. People are rightfully bringing up the fact that he's a registered sex offender, and it's putting her character under a microscope between her personal associations and her well-being. Well, it's been pretty petty lately. It's honestly not just a good look. And I have no control over the fan base. If people want to show support, they will. If they don't, they don't. I just hope this whole mess and all eventually dies down. But I do have to say, seeing this videos of fans destroying the merchandise took me back to a similar, though not identical situation with Melanie Martinez. You probably don't know her, but you
I
probably
know who
never heard of her.
Melanie
But back in
Martinez was.
2017, when she was accused by her friend, one of her ex-friends, excuse me, to, we saw the same visceral reaction. Fans supporting the accuser by filming themselves destroying their merch showed the era of fandom was officially over. It's a powerful visual way of saying I'm done, and seeing it happening again like Nicki is just it's just wild. But yeah, yeah. How do you feel about it, Donnie?
I think I spoke about this last time. I think she did this as to get a pardon from Trump for her husband because she's married to a convicted sexual assault felon, right? She chose to marry him even though he did this, I want to say, over 15 years ago and he served his time. That does not negate his responsibility as being a convicted sex offender. By marrying her does not negate what you are supposed to do by law, but then by law, keep this. If we're married, I marry Nicki Minaj, and we live in Calabasas, and become a registered sex offender, that means everyone's gonna know where Nicki Minaj fucking stays. Does that make sense? So, bitch, why don't you just rent a motherfucking apartment downtown on fucking Hollywood Boulevard? Get a B down ass apartment, let him register right there. You see what I'm saying? Because you're doing all this to evade certain things or not to share or make other information about you, your where you stay, and those things public. But by law, you are supposed to register where you stay so you can give the people around you the choice of how they move and where they're going to move and who they're moving around. Now, I think it was very, very poor timing. I'm not going to say a poor choice because people do things out of acts of love. Am I right?
Sure.
So what I'm saying is in all the attempts of her loving her husband and all the attempts of him loving his wife, they should have had a very honest conversation with themselves and with each other on how they're going to move, because it ain't like she ain't got the money to hit the hurdle to make things okay as far as this the sexual offending offensive like registry and all that kind of stuff. And then everything I'm saying could be alleged. The bitch could be a political motherfucking bandit and a traitor and went over to the Republicans. I don't know, but I assume that she did this out of love for her husband. I think it was a bad mistake on her part, but people do strange things for and in love. I have witnessed people online burning up the t-shirt, breaking the record. Now, these things are collectibles. Some things are more valuable today than they were when we first bought them, when they first came out. People are really throwing these things away. As whoever deleted it, if she stopped her Instagram page, that just shows the guilt and embarrassment of your actions. But God told us that once we fall down, we're supposed to get up off our face and continue to walk. So let's just pray that she picks it all up and can walk away unscathed. Jasmine, how do you feel?
Well, I understand the process of wanting to love somebody through their downfall. And so the stipulation that's happening here with her partner, at least from what I know or can surmise, is that he, yes, did an offense a long time ago. However, because of the type of offense that he did, he's still having to pay for it present day.
Yes.
And he very well may be paying for it lifelong. So there are things that are readjusting in California, which means like the tiers to which certain crimes are evaluated on, and therefore impacts how long somebody has to serve. So technically, he's still under watch by a law enforcement agency. Although this was committed or something happened a long time ago, his instant offense, what have you, that got him into the space happened a long time ago, and he's far removed from it. He can't really run from it still. And so I empathize on what she may be enduring as his life partner, what she's witnessing him experience and all the shame and things that come with it. Like when in that moment, the person may not even realize how impactful it is later on in life. Like, for example, not to compare apples and oranges, but just to give an idea, like when I stopped paying for or stopped bringing my library books back to the library, thinking, I don't care. I'll never pay for the library books. They could charge $1 billion if they want to. And then when I become an adult and that shows up on my credit, and it's like, shit, what I did when I was 12, it's still impacting me now. Like, the library. Yeah, so just there was no thought about what can happen in the future. And I don't even know if he had the proper representation when he did go to court or what have you. And that matters too, because if he would have went to trial, I don't know the actual stipulations on that, but if he would have went to trial, maybe it was different if he had the proper representation compared to if he took a deal. He might have took a deal. And so I said all that to say she's probably having a manic episode contingent on what she's experiencing vicariously through him.
I agree and I believe it.
There's my phone.
Is it?
All right, so moving right along. Next up, we have to talk about some massive TV news that broke right before the holidays. According to a recent report from the National Enquirer, comedian Bowen Yang reportedly walked away from a massive multi-million-dollar deal offered to stay at Saturday Night Live now. We all saw his emotional goodbye on December 20th episode with Ariana Grande and Cher, which, by the way, was an incredible way to go out. But the behind-the-scenes tea is even more intense. Insiders are saying that even though Lorne Michaels desperately wanted him to stick around to help anchor the show through the 51st season, Bowen was reportedly not happy and feeling completely overcommitted. Between the massive success of the Wicked movies, his own podcast, and a slate of upcoming films, it sounds like he chose his mental health and his new career path over a huge NBC paycheck. It's a bold move, especially since we've seen so many other cast members like Ego Wadem, and Heidi Gardner leave recently too. It feels like the end of an era at Studio AH. So, what do you think, Bubblers? Do you think Bowen is making the right move by leaving at his peak, or is it a huge risk to walk away from that kind of SNL safety net and a massive pile of money?
I mean, if there's no reward if you don't take the risk. And if we're talking about mental health, then I mean, how big of a risk is that to you? I mean, how much are you willing to gamble or negotiate your mental health? Now, here's the gag. Along with SNL, which is a wonderfully culturally admired entity on television, right? You know, I mean, I aspire to be on SNL. Call me, holler if you hear me. I'm waiting for you. So what I'm saying is there was a time where Chevy Chase left fucking Saturday Night Live. Even though Saturday Night Live was not what it is today and what it offers to comedians, actors, and entertainers today. Eddie Murphy had to leave Saturday Night Live. But then someone like, what's his name? Keenan from Keenan and Kel, he came to Saturday Night Live. You see what I'm saying? So there is always going to be a rotating door. But on his roster, it said he just did Wicked. He got his own podcast. He has a lot of other things, a lot of other great things going on. And in the story, it also said he felt he was a little bit overly committed. You see what I'm saying? Which means that sounds like you're asking for a little bit much, and I keep delivering. And there's no medium, no pause, no still, no wait. So if he chose his mental health, then I applaud him for that. I applaud him for that. Because I just saw an interview with, I'm sorry to say this, Q from Day 26 did an interview, and it was talking about how he was drugged and how being overly committed, if we can say, doing what they're asking you to do and not saying no. He took the pill, but to this day, he goes to mental therapy, health, and he takes a monthly injection of something to help his mental capacity. You see what I'm saying? So the lines, they run accord with each other, as in choose yourself over this. Don't always do what they say do, because, well, now we have Bowen Yang. We'll see how prominent and more prosperous his career was, and how Q's never really went anywhere because he was told he did everything he was told, and it didn't get him anywhere. So, you know, but there is no risk. There's no reward without risk, and I totally in agreement with the risk and the reward.
What do you think, Joanne?
Honestly, looking at the news about Bowen Yang, I really believe he made that right move by stepping down. I think a lot of times in this industry, people find themselves enjoying the work at first, but as time go on, they realize they're just not happy anymore. I mean, I know I've had that experience as a former drummer in a music band at school. Like, I enjoyed it, but after a while, it becomes really, really overcommitted, and I just wasn't really happy about it. So overcommitment is a real thing, and it takes a massive toll on your mental health. We've seen it time and time again, specifically entertainment, whether it's music or in film. So for Bowen, the pressure had to be unique. I mean, from what I researched, he was the first ever Chinese American cast member on SNL. And to put that in perspective, up until he joined, there had been only a few cast members and a few hosts of Asian descent in the show's entire history. There's a study that looked at the show from 1975 to 2016. The numbers are honestly jarring. 90% of the hosts were white, 6.8% were black, 1.2 were Hispanic, and only 1.1% were labeled as other. So when you are the first or one of the only, that weight is heavy. And I think he was 100% right to turn away from that ton of money. Lauren Michaels was reportedly thrown at him. Let me start over. I think he was 100% correct to turn away from the ton of money that Lauren Michaels was reportedly throwing at him. On one hand, there's always the possibility of being used as a face of or diversity when the behind the scenes hasn't caught up, but mostly staying would have been being even more committed than he already was. I mean, between Wicked, SNL, his podcast, and his other projects, his mental health would have been anything but well if he stayed in that high pressure SNL grind.
Yep.
And we've talked about this really quick. Sorry, Adonis. And we've talked about the statistics on the bubble chat before, especially after Sherry Shepard called out the show for following Ego's departure. And Sherry mentioned it's a practically an emergency because for the first time in over a decade, the show is heading into a season without a single Black woman in the lineup. It's that same cycle of placing the burden of representation on just one or two people. So Bowen choosing himself over a paycheck is a powerful statement. It says that no amount of money is worth burning out, especially when you've already broken the barriers you've came to break. And I'm just glad he's
That,
prioritizing.
that that's the part I want to talk about. Okay, so now that Ego and everyone and Bowen has made these breakthroughs with the company and the community and all these things, then it may give the broadcasting company, the casters, the directors, and the producers of the TV show, and look at me when I say this to you people, because I'm for hire. What I'm saying is it's just like when Halle Berry won her Oscar. It opened up the floodgate for others to come. So let's look at it as that. He left. Let's see who all they're going to bring. There are so many talented people, folks of color out there. Pick a color, any color, man or woman, put them up there. We all funny. I'm up for hire. SNL, Donna's Concierge. I'm right here. But yeah, I support him, and hopefully the people at SNL will open up their eyes and they will broaden. They'll be more broad with who they choose to bring on. Hell, throw transgender up there while you at it. Do it. Why not? Shit. Hire Flying Monroe.
Anything else, Jazz? Oh,
I'm excited. I'm excited about the change. I'm excited that people move away from spaces at their peak so that other people can be given the opportunity to run where they walked. And so I'm excited to see what's going to happen next and who they're going to put in
yeah.
there.
Well, next on the story, actress Jennifer Lawrence sat down with Leonardo DiCaprio for Variety's Actors on Actors series, and she shared a hilarious, albeit terrifying behind-the-scenes story from the set of The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. Apparently, Jennifer has a bit of a history mixing up her medications. She revealed that one morning during filming, she recently took an Ambien, a heavy-duty sleeping pill, thinking it was something else entirely. The kicker? She had to film a massive dance scene at the Capitol party with the late legendary Philip Seymour Hoffman immediately after. She told Leo that she was literally hallucinating while trying to perform. She kept asking the director, wait, what does this mean? What does this mean? To the point where Elizabeth Banks, who played Effie Trinket, got visibly annoyed. Elizabeth apparently didn't know Jennifer was essentially on a trip, so she just threw her script pages down in frustration and said, fine, let's just keep talking about it. Knowing how intense a set like the Hunger Games is, do you think Elizabeth had a right to be annoyed, or is this just one of those accidents happen moment that makes Jennifer Lawrence so relatable?
I think that she absolutely had a right to be annoyed. When they come into the space, there's a level of professionalism that is expected. And then if the person that is not showing their level of professionalism, one is younger than the person that got annoyed, and two is the star of the show, like that's a lot of weight to hold. And so I would say that I'm in agreement with her level of annoyance, but then also there's a level of like empathizing and checking in on your castmates too as other human beings. Like, hey, I noticed that there's a change in your behavior, because that could not have been her behavior every day. We would have heard about it in the Inquirer and the Star. Just checking in, like, hey, I noticed there's a change in your behavior. Is everything okay? What I learned working in the medical field for the short period of time that I did work in there is that if there's ever a change in somebody's behavior, you're supposed to increase observation. Check in, let me observe, let me see what's going on. And that shows a level of care and empathy for another human being. So, yeah.
I want to know what it is that you didn't take.
What you
If
thought
you
you
took the Ambien by accident, what was it that you was trying to take that was supposed to amp you up, maybe give you a little kick? I want to know what you didn't take. I want to know what pill you fucked up and didn't pop. I want to know what the other pill was supposed to do for you. While you sitting there hallucinating, fighting and dancing and carrying on, I want to know what the other pill was.
Allegedly.
That's it. I ain't got nothing to say because there wasn't no damn Ambien. You was gonna take the Ambien after you had popped that other pill. See, Megan Thee Stallion said it. She said, hoes pop pills, but I'm the one that can't take.
Reading this story really highlights something I've been observing for a while now about the entertainment industry. It reminds me of a conversation we had right here on a bubble chat about how historically success in show business often came with this star's unspoken requirement to perform at your peak, no matter what. Sometimes using substance just to keep the wheels turning. I think back to legends like Whitney Houston, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson. We've seen this documentary and the biopics, especially that Elvis film from a few years ago. And it's heartbreaking to see how those addictions often started as a way to manage the grueling schedules and the always on nature of fame. Thankfully, we don't see it happening quite the same way today as it did back then, but the pressure to be perfect on the camera is still very much there. As for Jennifer Lawrence, my take is that she probably wasn't even aware of the extent of her hallucinating until it was already happening. Ambient is no joke. It's one of those things where you think you're functioning, but your brain is essentially in another dimension. And you notice how she's only talking about this is now years later. I think that's because for the longest time, anything involving medication or the reality of what goes on behind the scenes in film and music was treated as a total taboo. You just didn't speak on it. So seeing her be this candid now shows how much the culture is shifting, but it also makes you wonder what else is happening on these high pressure sets that we won't hear about until for another decade. It's a lot to process, and honestly, it just makes me glad we're finally having these conversations out in the open.
That's right. Oh shit. Oh,
Lay it down. Lay it down.
there we go. I'm sorry, nephew. That was a minor pausing, minor pausing, minor pausing. Well, next on the agenda, actor and filmmaker Tyler Perry and Lauren Gates' film has been hit with a second lawsuit this past month alleging sexual assault and sexual battery. This time, the complaint comes from Mario Rodriguez, a model and actor who had a minor role in the 2016 film Boo, A Medea's Halloween. According to the lawsuit filed in California, Rodriguez alleges that Perry used his massive industry power to subject him to years of unwanted sexual advantages starting around 2014. The details in the filings are heavy. Rodriguez claims that after multiple encounters were resisted Perry's advances at Perry's Los Angeles home, the filmmaker allegedly handed him $5,000 in cash on at least two occasions and told him to let it happen. Rodriguez is seeking a $77 million in damages and has even named his then distribution partner Lionsgate in the suit, accusing that the studio of turning a blind eye to Mr. Perry's behavior. This follows a very similar $260 million lawsuit filed back in June by another actor, Derek Dixon, who appeared on The Oval. If you're curious to know those details, we have the link in the episode in the show notes down below. Perry's legal team isn't staying silent, though. His attorney, Alex Spiro released a statement claiming this is another failed money grab and points out that both actors are being represented by the same lawyer. They are essentially calling it a shakedown of a billionaire. With the two different actors coming forward with similar stories of quid pro quo and cash payments, does this feel like a pattern emerging, or do you think his legal team has a point about this being a targeted financial attack against Perry's empire? First, I have to say this, Tyler, I'm up for hire. and I will not betray you, nor will I not lie. So let's just be cautious what we do moving forward. Now, when it comes to these two peoples, okay, so we can look at them like that Smollett. Remember Jesse Smollett? Mm-hmm. Well, you lying or you not, right? The gag is, see, this is a problem. Y'all filing cases in California when the shit is happening in Georgia. That's why it's a shakedown. If you did it in the state that it was happening in, had factual concurrent things to what's that? To legitimize, to disclose, to represent, you wouldn't have to go to California. So you come to California, you file in California because California is a sue state. That's not fair, and I'm not saying that Tyler is innocent or not. I'm not saying that the victim is lying or not. What I'm saying is, why did you file in California? There's a reason why you did that. There's a reason why you did that. And a lot of people do that in big, high-profile court filings. They file in California. That's just to get the ball started. But it has to end where it took place. And I would assume in Lionsgate, Tyler Perry Studios, that was in Georgia. Now, I'm not dismissing any of the allegations or any of the real, truthful facts. All I'm saying is I don't think it made much sense other than for it to be salacious and to get a different money grab ball going by filing in California. That's all I'm going to say.
Honestly, the more I think about this Tyler Perry situation, the more I feel like the real problem, the main problem, is how these things come to light so much later. I could be wrong, and I don't know the exact timeline for sure. But I have a feeling that Mario Rodriguez might have been quite young, possibly in his late teens when these alleged incidents started back in 2014. But even if it's been confirmed 100%, it brings up the point where I feel strongly about when it comes. So I feel like when it comes to drama schools and acting classes, whether it's theater or film, especially acting for camera classes, the lesson plans need to change. They should consistently teach you how to protect yourself in this industry. We need to be teaching students about uncomfortable situations like bullying, sexual assault, hostile work environments, and even bribery. There should even be a massive focus on consent and the role of an intimacy coordinator or intimacy choreographer. Like these shouldn't have to be optional parts of this industry. They should be standard knowledge, especially for aspiring child and teen actors. And from everything about young people in this business, they have to feel too scared or even triggered to speak up when something like this happens. It's completely understandable why they think staying quiet, they can make the trauma go away, but the reality is these aren't just shitty days. These are memories that can't ever be erased. They stay with you. Like, if we don't start educating actors on their rights and how to handle a mogul who hands them $5,000 to let them things happen, we're just letting the cycle repeat. I can't speak for everyone, but from my view, I feel like if we had the safety protocols in the curriculum from day one, maybe someone like Mario wouldn't have to wait over a decade to feel safe enough to say his truth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's how I feel.
What's your thing, Jed?
I am empathetic for the fact that these people are basically like blackballing themselves in the industry to speak their truth. I'm empathetic to that, or what they believe their truth to be. I'm empathetic for that. And I also have a level of care for Tyler Perry, knowing his background and his history, and the fact that, dang, for him to be accused of such things, it makes me feel like nobody in a position of power, especially Black men, are like considered safe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're held to a different level of scrutiny. Now, I'm not saying it's okay, like what happens in the dark comes to the light, but what I'm saying is, I know that he cannot be the only person in a position of power.
Because how do we know what the casting couch is?
Yeah. Being like, hey, I know you're new here. I know you don't got a lot of funds. and I know you out here giving up the booty anyway. Let me just make sure you're a little bit comfortable in this way. And so, like, I know he's not the only person in the industry.
Sugar daddies and sugar babies.
Yeah, that's what it's giving. It's giving sugar daddy, sugar baby, and it's giving my career didn't pop off really like it needed to.
Uncles, mentors.
So it's really interesting to see it unfold. I empathize with the people that are actually filing the claims and or the suits against Tyler Perry. I empathize with them too because assault for a man, for a woman is hard, but I can imagine how it is for a man in the industry. And so, yeah, I hope that the truth comes to the light and that people who have been caused harm are made whole.
That's right. Because we all just this is I'll bring this up because we've talked about this in the musical arena. Sometimes it just feels a little bit insulting to be talented. Hurdles that you have to hit, the thing we just talked about, Bo and Yang. Now we're talking about these two possible young men. And then I can bring Cardi B in, and she just went through a public tragedy of a divorce. She broke up with that man, got pregnant, had the baby. He got 5 other babies along with her child that she just gave birth, and she's gonna be on tour. We're gonna be seeing her February 25th. Yes, in Sacramento on the Am I the Drama tour. That's a lot. That is a lot. That is however way you look at it, it is just very, very challenging, hard to be talented. Just to be talented. How you feel about it, Matthew?
I already gave my 2 cents.
Okay.
Go on to the next one, Joan.
Alrighty. Turning now to some heartbreaking news coming out of the reality TV world. Mickey Lee, who many of you will remember as a fan favorite contestant from Big Brother back in 2011, has sadly passed away on Christmas Day 2025 at 35 years old. The news was confirmed through a statement from his family, though a specific cause of death has not been released yet. For those who didn't follow the season, Mickey was a standout personality. She was known for her infectious energy and for being incredibly open about her journey as a deaf person on a major reality platform. She made it quite far and in the competition, finishing 4th place, and really broke down barriers for disability representation on television at a time when we weren't nearly seeing enough of it. Since news broke, social media has been flooded with tributes about her former housemates and the production team, all describing her as a bright light who stayed true to herself despite these pressures of being in the public eye. It's a sobering reminder of how young she was and the impact she left behind on the Big Brother community. Yeah, what do you guys think about this?
I'll go first because I'm the least versed on the show. I only know that Candy Burris won there, and that's where her and Tamar got into their spickles and debacles at. I'm just going to bring in how reality TV has really invited us into, the reality star universe, whether you are a housewife, was that Jersey Shore, all these shows have been on and then they get relit and they come back and things like that. It brings you back to a certain nostalgia. So kudos to everything that she did on the Big Brother show. But I just want to coin in on how we are invited and how we become a part of these people's lives. Like, if she never did the show, we wouldn't be knowing about her now. And even though it's sad, what happens, we're all born to die, but everyone doesn't get that magical glimpsing moment to be a star, considered a star, or to have the notoriety of one. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, she kind of was a regular chick, and she did something great. She got rewarded for it, and then we lost her, So I'm so sad. Condolences out to her family and all that. And it all is well that ends well. I hope she did not lose her life in pain.
Yeah,
If not,
my heart truly goes out to Mickey's family and all of her loved ones. You know, losing someone so young is already an incredible way to carry. But
that
there's an actual layer of pain in this specific story that I really wanted to touch on. Just by reading the reports, it mentioned that Mickey passed away right around the holiday season. And
Mhm.
that idea of losing a loved one on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day is something I can't even begin to fathom. We talk about the holiday spirit and the joy of year, but for so many families, the holidays can be a permanent reminder of a loss. I've observed that when you lose someone during what is supposed to be the happiest time of the year, it changes the way you look at that date forever. So instead of a celebration, there's this heavy, quiet void. It's a level of grief that feels especially cruel because the rest of the world is moving in a completely different emotional direction. And I've learned through our community here that grief doesn't follow a timeline, and it certainly doesn't respect the calendar. It's a sobering reminder as we start this new year to really hold on to the people we love and to be kind to those around us because you never know who's navigating a tragedy behind your holiday photos.
That's right.
Yeah, and just to also acknowledge that the Tommy Lee Jones had a daughter pass. Her name was Victoria Jones in San Francisco within the last 3 or 4 days.
No.
She was found unresponsive in a San Francisco hotel, and a fire department, they first hit the scene, and then about 15 to 20 minutes later, police hit the scene. So, yeah, that's the whole thing. I love Tommy Lee Jones and his role in Men in Black and
Yes. He's a great
something.
actor.
Yeah.
He was in that movie with it was him and Jamie Foxx. Oh, it was so good. Oh yeah, he's a great actor. I remember. He's a good asshole.
Yeah. So his daughter's passed away.
So sorry to hear that. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's sad when you lose people at the holiday time. It is. It is. Condolences out to all families who have lost anyone during this holiday season we just incurred in 2025 that led us into 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and with that, I believe we'll be right back after this quick break. So grab you a snack, re-roll, part your throat, and we'll be right back right here on the
Or do someone's hair.
Shade, nephew. And we're back. Welcome back to the Bubble Chat. If you're just joining us, you have picked a great time because now we have officially crossed the threshold into the new year of 2026. I believe it's the year of the horse. I want to take a look back at a story from last year that I think is going to define the industry for the next 12 months. Even though it's a brand new year, we have to talk about the engagement of the century that happened in August. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Yes, I'm still believing nephew is a Swiftie. Well, speaking of Taylor Swift, a massive report just confirmed the final numbers of our tour. Let me start off. Speaking of Taylor Swift, a massive report. Starting again. Speaking of Taylor Swift, a massive report just confirmed the final numbers as the tour officially wrapped. And they are honestly hard to wrap around your head. According to the latest data, the Eras Tour didn't just break records, it completely redefined what is possible in the music industry. The final tally for the ticket sales alone sits at a staggering $200.077 billion. To put that into context, she has more than doubled the previous record held by Elton John, and she did it in less than half amount of the shows. We're talking about over 10 million fans attending 149 sold out dates across 5 continents, and we only have 7 of them. But it's not just about the gross revenue. It was recently confirmed that Taylor Swift distributed about $197 million in bonuses to her whole entire crew. The bitch could afford it. We're talking about life-changing money, truck drivers getting $100,000 checks and dancers receiving enough to cover 5 times of their annual salary. Come through, Taylor Swift. Go ahead and get that coin. But you still regular white fish to me, but I give you kudos, girl. Do your thing.
I love it. I love to hear that her staff were given bonuses and people were recognized for the effort.
You can afford it.
Yeah, you got
reparations.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I seen their responses to opening their envelopes, and it was so so warming.
That's nice.
I recently had the absolute honor of sitting down to watch a little bit of the docuseries on Disney Plus, which covered the final leg of Taylor Swift's tour and that incredible closing show in Vancouver. And honestly, it hit me in a way I didn't expect it. You know, seeing the behind the scenes of that final performance really goes to show you that while Taylor is the face we see, there is an entire army of Swifties behind her.
Yes.
With all the hits she's released over the years and the level of perfection the Swifties expect, it was so powerful to see that the actual work she and every single person behind the scenes put to make the show a reality. Like they showed bonus day where Taylor personally handed out those handwritten notes and checks to her crew. We're talking about $197 million in total bonuses. Seeing the dancers and the production staff react, some of them were literally shaking or saying that they felt like they were going to pass out was so humanizing. But my opinion on this is that we often look at a $2 billion tour and think it's just about the money or the fame. But after watching the docu-series, I see it as a testament to endurance. Taylor mentioned in the film that this was the hardest thing she's ever done in a live setting. You know, I've observed that people sometimes dismiss her success as easy because she's at the top. But seeing the late night rehearsals and the physical toll it took, you can't deny that hustle. It really made me respect the bond she's had with her team. She even wrote a poem for them in the cards. It just proves that when you have a leader who actually values the people at the bottom as much as the people on the top, you actually create something that isn't just a concert. It's a movement. It's a fucking movement.
That's right. I agree. I was gonna say, well, I hope the other entertainers on like the stage, even if they don't make $1 billion of the sales, at least they can give some type of kickback of a bonus for the people because the same work that went into pulling off Taylor Swift tour pulls off the Monica tour, the Total tour, the Cardi B tour, and everyone
the Beyonce tour.
Yeah, everyone, and no one is exempt. You know, I believe everyone should get a little bit of a bonus, something. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, there's a whole army of people behind you. They work for you, and they don't even necessarily have to be fans, but they're working for you. And if they get the job done, girl, it should be like Christmas, like you made all the millions. Give them a little something back. You know, even if it ain't nothing but an extra $500. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody ain't making that white fish Swift money.
But yeah, get that coin, Taylor.
And congratulations.
She might have just made a new fan out of me. I want a bonus too. I love it.
Okay. What's next on the docket?
I think we're about done.
Are we?
I feel like when you put your head down, you nodding off like an old man.
You are. You over there kicking it with Jennifer Lawrence, nephew? You took that shit?
Take us home, Adonis. Take us home.
Yes, sir. And that brings us to an end of our very episode of 2026. It feels so good to be back in the booth, and I'm incredibly grateful that you chose to spend a part of your new year here with us at the Bubble Chat. We have covered the ground today, and as always, we love to hear what you guys think about the conversations that we had today. Whether if you agree with the takes or you have a completely different perspective, please reach out. You can find us on all social media platforms or drop a comment in. This show is as much as yours as it is mine, and your voices are what keep this bubble from bursting. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. It helps us grow as we head into this massive year ahead of us. Now, we have so much more in store for you to cover in the next 12 months, so please stay tuned, stick around. Until next time, we're going to clock the fuck out and stay curious, stay kind, and we'll see you in the next one. Happy New Year, everybody!